Well, that was a pretty dull weekend, wasn't it? The streets of every major Western city blanketed with rage and recrimination. And in London, which looked about as far removed from an English city as you could ever imagine. But pro-terror sentiment was profusely exhibited around every corner, where angry mobs roamed as authorities looked on virtually powerless. The counter-protesters were chased down and attacked. Where shitlibs' obsessive pearl-clutching about so-called offensive speech suddenly took a backseat. Police made sure they were in the right place at the right time to address the real threat. Some bloke with a Union Jack flag. 10 cops for an old dude carrying a flag of the nation he lives in. Not enough. Why weren't there 100 cops? 1,000?
You don't have to say anything.
Are you fucking kidding me? He's being arrested for carrying a Union Jack in Downing Street. Are you serious?
It's not
What a fucking disgrace.
This man was not arrested for carrying the Union Jack flag. Apparently he was arrested for saying something racist. In other words, for offensive speech. These women, literally wearing paragliding images, in direct support of Hamas terrorists who slaughtered innocent civilians in their own homes, well, they mysteriously managed to avoid getting arrested. Guess this guy's white privilege wasn't much help on this occasion. I guess he'll soon be sharing a jail cell with people who use the wrong pronouns. Before the march, police sources told The Telegraph they were most concerned about right-wing and nationalist groups seeking to provoke Palestine supporters. Right, because when I see footage like this, my immediate concern is, oh, but what if the right-wing people say mean things about them? Interesting, though, how certain select few European cities didn't witness any of these kind of scenes. Warsaw, Budapest, Prague, Bratislava. Seemed awfully quiet there. Wonder why. Strange how some offensive behaviour is swiftly crushed, while other offensive behaviour is permitted to the point of virtual endorsement. They were literally allowed to take over London's most iconic war memorial, the Cenotaph, and daub it with Palestinian flags. Authorities were notably more sanguine about those flags.
Absolute fucking disgraceful. Next to the fucking cenotaph. How'd they get permission for that next to that? Don't think it's fucking... Don't think it's distasteful. Eh? Absolute fucking disgrace. You think that's disgraceful?
I have no opinion, unfortunately.
You can't give an opinion.
I guess some flags are more offensive than others. Imagine telling an Englishman 100 years ago that in 2023 a guy named Sadiq Khan will be London's mayor and his primary role in office will be to keep the Jews and Muslims in London from going at each other's throats because of a holy war that's happening thousands of miles away. But diversity's our strength, right? Now thoughts will turn to the 1 million plus people who have been made refugees as a direct result of this war. A mass river of people is now flowing south, people forced to flee their homes. And who's going to absorb them all? Europe? The United States? Breitbart editor Joel Pollack, who previously called for Gaza to be wiped out, says America should step up to the plate and take in God knows how many Palestinian refugees during the war. A war that's been going on for decades and shows no sign of ever ending. Gee, what could possibly go wrong?
Lone actors who may take inspiration from recent events to commit violence of their own.
The grim reality of what's coming next is soberingly predictable. Just as the exodus of refugees from Syria was exploited by ISIS, who slipped into Europe posing as refugees before going on to commit numerous atrocities, the West is once again, having done so demographically on a drip-drip basis for decades, about to lower the bridge for its own downfall. Dear European friends, look at the massive pro-terrorism protests in your capitals. Israel is fighting your war. If Israel doesn't win,
you're next.
Really, is that why Israel supports sending them all to us? While deporting African migrants from their own country? Is that why when ISIS was killing our people throughout Europe, Israel was busy giving them and their allies weapons in Syria? Oh yeah, I'm sure Israel really cares about us though. Why can't Palestine's neighbours, several of which are sympathetic to Hamas anyway, do their bit? Oh no, we can't have that, can we? Gotta send them all to Europe, despite being right next door and sharing a similar culture. Egypt has promised to do naff all to help Palestinian refugees. They're too worried about their precious tourist income. This is a country that's received $30 billion in US aid in recent decades. They just got sent another $235 million just last month. They can't be bothered to lift a finger though. Whenever there's trouble in Gaza, they just close the border immediately. It's always the West that has to bear the brunt of it. Now the Biden administration's got itself stuck in a real dilemma. Which American taxpayer-funded war will be given #1 priority? Don't worry about that. There you were thinking the giant slush fund being used to prolong the conflict in Ukraine might be at risk. No. They're going to use your money to bankroll both wars.
Are the wars in Israel and Ukraine more than the United States can take on at the same time?
We're the United States of America, for God's sake.
Multitasking. I mean, look at what Putin just did to Kiev. How can we turn away from Ukraine now when they need us the most? Oh, sorry, my bad. That's what Israel just did to Gaza. Israel's most prominent supporters are saying that if America doesn't back them now, there'll be nuclear war.
If Israel is forced to the wall, the possibility of nuclear exchange is extremely high. That is why it is very important that the United States provide the material aid to Israel.
And who exactly are we going to war against? This Israeli army officer seemed to suggest that it was everyone in Gaza.
To the answer, the war is not just with Hamas. The war is with all the civilians that cannot see us as human beings.
An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, and we're prancing around carelessly on the precipice of near Armageddon. Get early access to videos, exclusive live streams, and personally DM me. You've seen how much I get demonetized all the time. Well, this is how you support me. By subscribing at pauljosephwatson.locals.com. Please click the link in the description.